Welcome to season 3, episode 8 of the Hot Box Show. We're going to call it a Rolling Stone Together's No Stigma, right?
Yeah.
Stigma. So you'll see we've got a few extra people on the couches tonight. I got rid of the tables. I won. It wasn't even a competition. I just made it happen. Cameron and Tasz from the Rolling Stone. I'm sure all of you know exactly who they are, but we wanted you guys to come on the show tonight and brag.
Thank you. I'm
Catch your own bags and everything. Yeah. But before we get into all of that stuff, what are we smoking tonight, guys?
I saw some interesting little nuggets floating around.
Some weed from Karua.
Dark Roots Collective. I picked that up on what would become, in my mind's eye, the Misty Mountain Hop Tour because of the mountains going through Worcester and that beautiful stretch on Route 66. And in the middle of that is a really cool bunch of people that grow some next level strains. And they'll end up being a Route 420 partner at some point in time. I pick these things up all the time en route, and I think there's space in the future industry to acknowledge local growers in their local region.
Yes.
And that would form a nice structural part of the tourism industry where you can only smoke that specific strain if you jump in your car and you drive all the way and you enjoy the outdoors to get to the person that made it, and you can engage with them directly.
No, you're Dagga Farmer. Can we get the grinder?
Yeah, no, you're Dagga Farmer.
We can just edit to cut things now.
No, that's fine. We can carry on. It's all good.
Right next to
Grinder.
you.
Grinder and the paper.
Papers.
Sorry, guys. So these very specific ones,
We will show you
I did have
folks
video,
some pictures or a little video on the feed as well. It is super dense and crystally. I am extremely excited right now.
what are the flavors? Which the one you've got right now is called Forbidden
It's
Cut.
Forbidden Cut.
Forbidden Cut.
That's what I'm going
And
Do
to
you
Ghost
have some
Train.
law about the...
I don't know, but I do know that him and the main grower started it 3 years ago, and this is the result.
Mhm.
And then the Ghost Train is 15 years old actually, and is
I've only ever heard myths about it.
is it? So
I've
well,
not
now
quite
it's
got
no
my hands
longer a
on
myth.
I haven't got
We're
my
gonna
hands
smoke
on
Although all growers are myths, aren't they? They're sitting out in the wild somewhere doing the magic that everybody else gets the benefit of. So
We'll smoke some and then our afternoon will become a myth.
Good one.
wherever you are, Route 420 is.
Okay, so guys, while we get this all rolled up, I think let's watch Myrtle's rant. By the time we get back from the rant, we will have this ready to smoke, yeah? Myrtle has a really significant rant today. Enjoy.
Let's talk about stigma. That big, fat word called stigma. And you know, we encounter it almost around every corner. And like everything else, there's a balance between the self-generating stigma of our that comes from within our cannabis communities, dating back to the 70s when you got those awful Cheech and Chong movies and things like Pineapple Express, which created the stoner stereotype. But you know, that was of its time. And I remember absolutely hooting and crying with laughter at listening to Cheech and Chong's Cinderella. You know, go back and find it, it'll be there somewhere. It was really, really funny. And it's kind of not so funny anymore. It's like when the old biopirates were sailing the high seas and popping in on our communities in Ponderland and swapping seeds. And they are now accused of biopiracy. But you know, when everybody was traveling the world and swapping seeds, that was what was done in those times. because cannabis was prohibited all around the world. So of course it was going to spawn a whole generation of pirates who just wanted to find like-minded people. But today we really need to have a close look at biopiracy. So stigma is the same thing. It can come from within our cannabis communities. And it can also come from very learned people within our cannabis communities, particularly those people who have PhDs and who find themselves enmeshed in medical cannabis. And they find themselves gathering a lot of knowledge and a lot of credible knowledge about medical cannabis, but then using that against us who are not sick, wanting to increase the age limit for us, wanting to scare us about what is going on in our communities in South Africa by couching everything in medicine because they know better. But meantime, there's 20 million of us who use cannabis, who are consumers of cannabis, because that in itself is a stigmatizing word. But it's very difficult to not use it. But I think the best way to counteract stigma within our communities is to always ask the question, is that worth locking me up in a cage for? Because that's what it comes down to. So if there's scares about fentanyl in the gummies and the cannabis clubs, then what are we going to do about it? Are we going to revert back to locking me up in a cage? Or are we going to introduce regulations? But the argument is never couched in the fact that we don't have regulations and this might be leading to these health scares. The argument is always couched in terms of the cannabis community. And it's always us that is doing something wrong, according to the PhDs. But meantime, they don't come with solutions, they just come with finger pointing. And that really, really is stigma of the highest regard. Because don't stand in front of me and tell me all about your PhDs and then almost shoot me down with, look what your community's doing. But I'm a doctor. So, everybody's going to hang off of my every single word. And there's more than one. There's dozens. There's dozens. You just have to look in institutions like the Medical Research Council, which are an institution with a mandate that is so very noble. But if one looks at their track record with cannabis, it's all fear-based. Don't go and make those people who don't understand cannabis fear it. No, you're going to go and educate them. I mean, the horse is bolted. We're not going to go back to prohibition, but we're stuck in this thing where we're being stigmatized by the professionals. So there's stigma from within our communities, and there's stigma within, and those professionals are part of our communities. And then, of course, there's the stigma of the ignorance of the government. Now, when it comes to that, I think we must always remember that it's not a war on drugs, it's a war on people. That cannabis is not illegal, our use of cannabis is illegal. So let's just try and get that one straight first, and it was certainly underlined and continues to be underlined by Mr. Daryl Bickle from Leeds in the UK on our International Cannabis Symposium WhatsApp group. And I think that the central to his, and it's not even an argument, it's a fact, is the fact that we need to always bring it back to the people. And that's where I think the disconnect is with the government. And that is why in 2021 we published our manifesto, and it's called Cannabis in South Africa, the People's Plant. It's not the government's plant. No, it's not. To instill fear in us or to be ignorant about. And it's a full spectrum manifesto for policy reform across the board. Now, in this very manifesto, which maybe should have been called How to Regulate Cannabis in South Africa, and maybe we'll get the time to update it, but we have a whole section starting on page 40, and you can download the PDF from our website of this whole manifesto. We have all the different stakeholders. This probably needs updating, but there's one section in here that doesn't need updating, and that is all the government departments that should be involved in cannabis regulation in South Africa. We've got agriculture, we've got correctional services, we've got economic development, we've got education, energy, environmental affairs, health, justice, labour, national treasury, the South African Police Service, science and technology, small business development, social development, revenue, South African Revenue Service, the presidency, yes, you, Mr. President, all your promises, tourism, trade and industry, and then the Office of the Provincial Premiers, which is all of our 9 provinces. Now, out of all of these that we've listed here in the manifesto, I can tell you that we've had first-hand knowledge of the stigmatizing, not only just language, stigmatizing attitudes and ignorance of all of these government departments. So when, like at the International Cannabis Symposium, there was a fascinating panel on education, absolutely fascinating. This seems to be an insurmountable task because it all comes back to stigma. Now, one question that I ask myself that I can't quite answer yet is how do we break the stigma here within the government departments? We can work within our various communities because we all have communication with each other. But at the International Cannabis Symposium, there was not one direct representative from government there, and we hope to change that for next year's symposium. But you know, every single day we've got to have these Department of Health and Central Drug Authority scare tactics. And their latest cannabis abuse scare tactics is a picture that has a syringe on it. You know, there used to be an old joke going around back in the day about, I need to inject my marijuanas, you know, because it is such a ridiculous concept. So, yeah, Department of Health, what are you cooking up for us after the edibles ban that was such a drama at the beginning of last year? You know, I don't know. How are we going to do this? How are we going to get in front of them to absolutely tell them the truth and stop breaking the stigma? The Central Drug Authority telling Amy and I in a really amazing meeting with traditional leaders that no, because, and it was on 420, saying like, you and your 420, there's a school in Vosloorus and all the children are zonked out on Dagga. Zonked out. I mean, I don't know. How stigmatizing is that? What about the children? That's also stigmatizing because a lot of the time the children know more about Dagga than you do. So I just had to have a little bit of a rant about stigma. Our stigma within our communities and those professionals within our communities, okay? The old stoner stigma that's a bit stale now. You know, jokes about the fridge and all that, it's a bit stale. Cheech and Chong. Thanks, guys. We had a laugh, but we've moved on and we've evolved. And then this dark ages that is the South African government. They are stuck in the medieval times. They want to burn us all at the stake like the witches. You know? If you have any ideas whatsoever, please contact us on Fields of Green for All. Any ideas of how we are going to break the stigma within government? We know how to do it within our communities and we're doing it all the time. But within government, we are very, very sick of attending many engagements with government where the language is stigmatizing, the attitude is stigmatizing, and we're going to end up with over-regulation and we're going to have to spend a whole lot of money and going back to court, all because of stigma. Thanks for listening.
That was quite a touching rant, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It wasn't too ranty, it wasn't too out there and too harsh, but it was quite enough to bring light to certain topics. You know, especially for me, it is a sensitive topic. I mean, we all love cannabis and we've all been consuming it a long time in our lives, at least most part of our lives in some cases.
Yeah.
And you've been a victim of that stigma several times. When you had dreadlocks, you got arrested all the damn
Yeah, I mean,
time.
I've been arrested for possession for not even possessing anything, you know, just because of stigma. But also in other industries that I've gone out to work in, not even just the cannabis industry, but travel and tourism industry, for example. I'm a safari guide. I've gone into the safari industry where a lot of guides smoke because you enjoy nature and you're more or less on the same page and it's part of your journey. Yet a lot of your older school, your managers, your property owners and stuff like that, they're still so heavily against it that you actually, I mean, we're all just human and we're all just looking to find a place in the world where we can be ourselves fully.
Yeah.
Yet everywhere you go, or belong, and everywhere you're going, you're told you don't belong. And that's
Yeah.
part of the stigma.
But cannabis users are not a monolith. I think it's important to realize that and to accept that. And also, stigma, if you think about it, is kind of like a caricature of a certain idea. So the idea of the lazy stoner is essentially it's a caricature, and a caricature is an attempt to simplify something that is too complicated to put into a box. And when you're dealing with cannabis, you're dealing with variations in the plant from strain to strain and variations in people's endocannabinoid system. So there isn't much predictability there. So you can't really put stoners or the plant into a box. So I think it's important to keep that in mind, that it's
Exactly.
when you experience a plant, when you experience a strain, it gives you a particular effect, you know, and it might, if you give those same genetics to a different grower in a different region, it might produce a completely different effect.
Oh yeah, of course.
You know, because at the end of and even if you harvest at a different time, there's the chemicals within the trichomes change over time. So,
But it is. They're all just classing us into the same category. Like Myrtle was even saying with a lot of the old stigma programs that used to run in the past. I mean, the Reefer Madness thing, the movies that came out, the music that came out. It was all part of that stigmatization. So they're all putting us into the same group. You can be in a workplace and have the best relationship with your manager or your boss, the absolute best relationship with him for years. And then say 2 years down the line, he finds out that you smoke weed and the relationship is over and he suddenly sees you as this person who can't graft anymore. Meantime, there's proof that your graft is good, but suddenly your graft is not good.
It's a perception problem.
I think there's a point at which those that stigmatize against stoners would need to have a safe space in order to not stigmatize, to be able to speak about it. I went on a trip about 3 months ago, and I stayed at it was in Worcester at a really high level, Airbnb, like supremely wealthy spot. And I didn't know how they would accept me. I got there late, and the next day I wanted to do a vlog, which I did. But first engaging with the owner, who was about 65 maybe, and he said, "So what do you do?" And I said, "I run the Rolling Stone. I'm on Route 420." He said, "Oh, you need to speak to my wife." And she came out the house, and she's also about 65. And just because I gave her the opportunity to speak it out, she had grown her own weed, made her own edibles, got really sick from her own edibles because she had no education, but loved the plant and loved the experience. And I just happened to be there at the right time to let her feel that it was safe to speak about, because stigma is that hardcore that somebody that has their own little journey also feel, I can't speak about that because I'm going to be judged. And the whole education part is that the end user already now thinks weed is illegal in relation to selling and buying, but it's not. So the cart's before the horse, so to speak, and now we've got to catch up on the stigma. And then again, a lot of people in their workplace. I remember phoning the marketing director of a big brand, and I said to him, as soon as the word stoner came out my mouth, there was a long pause. I started to have fun with that, by the way. And then I said to him, "Do you smoke weed? Have you had any experience with it?" And he said, "Yes, of course I have, but my brand doesn't want to associate it with it." And that then needs to become the real stigma that we need to fix. Is where if your brand, let's say it's a vehicle brand, will associate happily with a beer, why wouldn't it associate something with something that's way more safer than alcohol? You know, so
because it's got a bad stigma
exactly.
around it. And the thing with stigmas is it's a very narrow mindset if you believe stigmas, you know, and yeah, sure, they were created for a certain reason, and maybe the majority population could fall into a category that we could all place them under. But stigmas are a narrow mindset, and believing that only a certain way is the way is actually not it's closed off. You're not actually wanting to know more. It's ignorant, and a lot of those people are just judgmental.
It's a moral
Down
judgment.
deep.
They feel safe in their little space of what they know, and it's uncomfortable to learn more things.
Yes.
I have an analogy where if there was a restaurant full of people and you got their attention, obviously no kids and stuff around, and you stood up and said you asked all of it, say it's 100 people, you said, guys, which one of you have had an experience with weed in the past, good, bad, or ugly? And at least 50% of those people most likely smoke weed, and the other 50% have had some form of experience.
Yeah.
And I think it's because nobody's asking the question. You understand? Nobody's going, do you?
Yes.
Because until they come out, that's really bad.
Yeah, no, but I get what you're saying, because like my mom had that stigma-based thing as well. My dad was a stoner. He was a lifeguard on the beach. He had no real ambition, and he cheated on her while she was pregnant with me. And so she blamed his entire personality flaw, that side of the family, on the weed, and not on him just being a dickhead. Her thing on me the whole for years, right up, even a little after I started working in Fields of Green, I had to sit her down and really open her mind and gently educate her, because a lot of people are not open to being educated as well. They're quite comfortable. No, thank you.
And
What's that called? The non-functional player.
Yeah.
They're happy for their stigma to stick.
That's
So now on your travels, because you guys travel a lot with what you do, gathering articles and gathering places where people can gather and enjoy the enthusiasm of the plant so much together.
Yeah.
What different kinds of stigma do you find in different parts of the country? Is there going to Nelspruit, I know it's going to be specifically this kind of way.
Yeah. No, well, there's a lot of things that happen on Route 420. The one part of the industry that I haven't gone to, I'm just about to go into it, is going to be the tourism industry, to build travel partners on the network, and where to go, who to go and speak to, how to go and speak to them is a whole new ballgame, because between one point and another, there's 1,000 businesses that could well fit and suit being on Route 420 as some form of a partner, like the coffee shop or the gift shop, whatever. So we've got the work of having to go out there and literally change people's minds in relation to what it feels like and looks like at the moment. A lot of people just won't be able to ignore the sheer size of it in the future, because the tourism industry in relation to 420 is significant all over the world, and it's just going to get huge.
And South African weed, specifically the craft cannabis growers out there are, you guys are so good, man. You guys are the reason that the cannabis tourism industry is going to be so great. Keep that shit up, because South African weed is. We've got an international sitting in the back. He's coming on the show next week. Our weed is good, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
South Africa's already got quite it's known for what they call drug tourism. So before our 2018 ruling, so I think the cannabis side is just kind of exponentially expanding on that, and it's so well known already.
And Swaziland are world famous
Yeah.
for a reason. I'm just saying.
But look, on something like a long road trip, it's awesome. You want, especially people like us, we want to sit down and plan a trip, and we think of all the places that could be cannabis friendly, or where we could smoke our stuff, or whatever the case might be. Whereas here we need to try to put together a plan of people who haven't necessarily been in the industry before, like lodges and establishments like that, who've never focused or had to even talk about cannabis. We've got to go and have the talk with them about, hey, can we bring our cannabis people?
And it's going to be great for breaking stigma, because that's what we'll be doing all the time, teaching them that it's...
And teaching
I'd
about
imagine-
harm reduction.
Harm reduction, exactly. I'd imagine there's not much resistance in what are typically the artsy towns.
No, they love it, yeah.
I think if you see it as a lay, let's go back into prohibition, and we were all on a route, driving a road somewhere, going to restaurants the whole time. We just didn't see it because there was no visibility, right? Which is what essentially Route 420 is trying to do, is to bring out, and at the same time in the main belts of the industry, bring out a road trip where the years when I was hiding away from the cops and going on a trip, whatever, and we've all done that, is now it's got a map, number one. Number two, smoke signals, which you'll find out about just now, are the little secret places where we all went into the mountains, whatever they might be, that now deserve to be highlighted as an opportunity for you and I to speak on the same point. Where you last smoked up on a mountain, I can go and smoke there and have the same vibe as you. And it's essentially unveiling 100 years of So the it's not a fast fix, you know. So people say to me, including my web developer, like, how do we get this thing moving faster? You can't move it faster because the framework isn't there, and you literally have to go and break stigma in every town, on every street, to go and get it right, because otherwise it's not just the rest of the industry aren't going to volunteer themselves into the cannabis industry. It's not going to be that easy.
Trying to unravel 100 years of stigma.
So I've been to 710 stores in the country, driven 200,000 Ks, and met thousands of people, and I've only been to the lounges and the dispensaries, and there's now said to be 4,500.
I don't think anyone really knows.
Nobody really
It'll
knows.
take me 10 years.
That could be Cape Town alone.
It's about 300 in Cape
always.
Town. But I thought along the way is that there's not many people that have that can see the whole industry from an above point of view, the sheer size of it. We've just finished our map, and we've put all the authenticated stores on it, which now looks like this beautiful network of weed experiences across South Africa. Obviously, you'll find another 20 stores in the street that is sitting on the map, and that's up to you to go and do it. What I've tried to do is go, I like your mojo. Do you want to build your name out in the industry? Have you got all your safeguards in place? If you haven't, we'll help you do that, etc. And now the end user, the guy on the road, knows that the Rolling Stone says that place is a cool spot.
Yeah.
And then try and hold their hands, because at the same time as the tourism industry adopting into it, we've still got to get the weed stores to a point of standardization where they can accept the tourism industry safely and securely with all the right standards in place.
Yeah.
Because now the clubs are going to say to you, hey, but you're sending these strangers to my private club. Like, I don't know.
They'll say
And all
that.
of this, we still have to. It's still, the cops.
They'll say that, but there's not a
Set
lot
up
of
a lovely route
resistance
to
to a new
the cops
customer
come to-
walking in the door though.
I think a lot of these tourism establishments are probably not aware that they can legally have a 420 friendly space on their private property, and there's nothing legal about that. And I think that most of them probably don't realize that. I was in Drakensberg recently. There were 2 cannabis shops within, a stone's throw of where I was staying. Not really a stone's throw, but a short drive.
The Rolling Stone.
There you go. So maybe that's where the stone needs to roll to next. Drakensberg. That's a big stone.
Sounds like a nice place.
That's
Maybe
a
just
big
in time
stone.
for the snow. That'll be even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Light a nice fire, light a joint, they all go together.
I think I'm gonna have to come on a road trip with you guys.
You'll never get
Your job
off.
sounds, it's hard, but it sounds also
No, it's
nice.
very cool. Ask Taz. She sees it from the inside out.
Yeah, sort of like the rear, the left passenger window in perspective. So I get to see everything and from my side, not just of how the cannabis community's accepted us and absorbed us and just so happy to meet us. It's been that reciprocal that everywhere we go, people are letting us know this is a cool spot to go, that's a cool spot to go. So it's even in the community letting each other know where there's safe, good mojo, nice people, and that's how we've been meeting so many people across
And
whole South Africa.
isn't it cool how cannabis has affected different places differently?
Absolutely.
Like every province in this country is almost like its own country, right?
It does.
With different local people, different
It's almost a
languages,
separatist
different.
community.
And you
happening,
get to actually interact with these people, and because everyone smokes weed everywhere, people will smoke weed in the Northern Cape and in Eastern Cape, and you get to actually experience life through their highness.
You do.
I mean, if you think of the wine route as an example, Stellenbosch, just say how many years it took to build it to become a world recognized space, right? So we now have to start that work in the weed industry to build these world recognized destinations that people can go to, and that's not going to happen overnight. It's a really big exercise if you
show up every day.
Yeah,
That's what it
100%.
is. Consistency.
I think the garden route is kind of, geared up to go in that direction.
Yeah.
There's
More so than anywhere else in the country.
That's the whole East
Although
Coast,
in the small town defence, which we call Dagga dorpies, you'll find some of the most beautiful lounge spaces inside the small towns, which are along the routes and stuff. And then you get to meet, just on your point, was you get to meet the specific regional feeling, the culture, even the NPOs that they try to support. And I think the best part of my job is sitting with the owners and just getting embellished in their stories of how they started their little entrepreneur experience. I was actually thinking last night, so we've got access to some heritage strains from the ones you were talking about, the good stuff, Devon Poison, etc. And we're thinking of going to go and, because I didn't know where to go next, because I always get really happy at the Jazz Farm and I will just want to stay.
Like Hotel California, Hotel Jazz Farm.
Is to go and use the smoke signal drops, where we take those seeds and we go and make a symbolic plant of those seeds. We get to engage with the community where they first started, build a network around that in relation to the tourism industry, because at some point they're going to get reintroduced to those places, to the right farmers, etc. And if we symbolically put that out into the world, there'll be 12 places across Africa, because 2 of them are outside of South Africa, where a pilgrimage of heritage strains could be journeyed by the whole world and go into the community. And that's the road trip you might miss, Joe. But we need a van.
It'll be an odyssey. We'll have to come fetch you. We do leaps.
So
Well, in fact, you make the hotbox mobile, guys.
It can be the South African Camino. The Dagga Camino.
Yeah. So for me, I'm so freaking honored to be a part of the historical story, being a stoner myself back in the day and stigmatized heavy, being in jail, all of those things, is to now be able to sit here in this environment, and it's just like, it's my dream come true, because
It's a bit surreal sometimes.
it's crazy. Yeah.
I do. I wake up sometimes and I'm like, wait. which
And I never
timeline
lose
is
sight
it?
of that. I mean, imagine the stigma if I start speaking to a freaking restaurant and he says, "Where are you going?" I say, "I'm going to the next weed store." And he's going like, "Really?" So it's huge.
Cameron will be sitting there, we're working, doing spreadsheets, we've got to go wherever we go, and he goes, "Taz, get to it. You're not on holiday." I'm like, "Are we not on holiday?" I thought we were on holiday.
When's your guys' app
We're on
going
route
live?
between.
We're looking for it to drop next week, Friday.
Okay.
It's going to go out to the Route 420 Travel Club members first. There's about 1,000. They're all people engaging and looking at what we're doing. And I might get them to go and drop smoke signals first. And it'll be a soft launch in the meantime. And just understand, everybody, that it's a minimal viable product. And version 2 will come out version 3, because if you can appreciate the time it takes to get this right, eventually you'll be able to book your entire tour and the accommodation off the app.
You could even have a guided tour on it.
Yeah, 100%. So the goal is that the Rolling Stoner will be able to curate its own tours, like the Misty Mountain Hawk tour, and we will have vans and we'll take people along that tour to all our friends, and just it'll be it'll be beautiful. But then we'll also need to integrate Big Five, golf, bungee jumping, all of that stuff as well.
Everything our country has to
Coastal
offer.
drives.
The whole thing.
Spelunking.
And then people
Such
will
a
say
great
to me,
network to tap into such a big proper network, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know, you're going to help. You're going to get your guys down in Cape Town to help drop smokes.
We're part of their soft launch.
Yeah. So it's a community effort. It's not about Rolling Stone. It's just about Route 420 needs to exist because it didn't for 100 years, and we all want to go out there and do our thing. You know? And I think that the foremost users of the app are going to be us and the Stoner community.
yeah.
Smokers.
And the international community as well, because we know how big tourism is for this country
Yeah.
as a whole.
Yeah.
And secondly, when things catch waves, it's going to be like when Amsterdam, one of the first cities to really legalize and sell in coffee shops. Suddenly, everyone from around the world was heading over there
Yeah.
for the Amsterdam experience. And I kind of see it becoming like in South
Think of it an
Africa as well.
Insta for stoners or
Yeah,
Facebook just for stoners.
So
Come on, a stone game drive is my
Yeah.
favorite thing.
So you don't know that, but we're launching the Rolling Stone California edition, which is a limited edition in the next edition, which is all about California, right? The authenticated stores and the network will get, and the airports will get an edition of that particular copy, but the actual version will be the digital version will be marketed into the California marketplace, and the only advertisers that are allowed to advertise in are the authenticated stores in South Africa. So I'm already preparing the international marketplace with the brand experience in South Africa, which I think is also a part of tying the visibility network up so that that whole outer network gets built. So when people come to South Africa, they know that the Jazz Farm exists. They know your tour is going live. They know that and they know which store to go to.
They don't have to come here and go all 4,500 clubs
Exactly.
before
Yeah,
finding
yeah,
out
yeah.
which ones are
Yeah.
the
Just
best.
their vibe.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully the app gets that right. I would love to start something called the Rolling Stone Tourism Information Center and Art Gallery, which is where we get to showcase all of the vibe of the stoner industry in one place in 5 important places in South Africa, where that's the first spot people stop at to go and understand what it looks like. And from that point onwards, everything moves forward. And I mean, this week we're announcing, which is unique, is the 4 appointed or nominated departure lounges for Route 420 in Western Cape, Pretoria, Joburg, which become the starting points of all Route 420s for self-driving. And then we're going to announce the business lounge, which is the place we recommend you go and do business at. And then there's all these other exciting things like the base camps. I was speaking to you about it earlier. Taz, why don't you share all this?
Oh yeah, like we were discussing the base camps for the rangers, like wilderness, or I like to say wilderness rangers. People can go out there and not just protect the planet, save the planet, but use the plant, because the plant is so much part of our culture that we've had to hide away. It's bringing it back into the sunlight. There's enough sunlight for everybody, and there's enough sunlight for it to go around. So to educate as we travel, to get people to understand what it is, what we're doing, and get rangers on board to really help us re-sow what the plant has brought.
You have to unpack Ranger more. It's the Rolling Stoner Wilderness Ranger.
Wild and
It's a badge and a t-shirt because you love the planet and you join it and you become this
How do I become a ranger?
dude that just
you've got to go to like a
cares.
6-month course and get a PhD, like Myrtle said. So
No,
you can
you
help
don't.
break stigma. No, it's just really.
No, so the
Be a
wilderness.
ranger?
So not many people know, but we have our own NPO, which we're into things like nature conservation and stuff, and we're going to launch something in the short-term future, which should automatically make you a ranger just because of what you have to do when you buy it.
Okay.
And it would, I'd like to say, maybe I'm a bit dramatizing, I'd like to say that it's going to make the Coca-Colas of the world feel really embarrassed that they haven't done more about the plastic pollution than what they should have. And I will lead the authenticated stores as well as the rest of the weed industry and the culture into a nature conservation, let's say, expedition that will be worthy of being written in some of the top nature conservation journals in the world, because of what it is. And the weed industry in South Africa will get the recognition for that because it'll become something that we did.
Sure.
Nice.
That's very lucky.
Exciting.
Very cool. Yeah, we have a long road to walk ahead.
Let's leave our mark, basically.
Oh, just don't say too much more because it's still a secret.
So shall we slide from that secret into a Dagga Farmer, because Seth has walked us through the garden this morning.
Great. Hey guys, we're back in the nursery here. Plants have definitely taken off, grown at a considerable rate. I don't know if you can see right now, but we have closed up the sides. It's super cold at the moment. We are freezing our tits off. And the plastic on the sides is like just to help with the frost. We're getting a lot of black frost at the moment. If you look behind me, the tops on those plants at the back are actually wilting quite a bit. And you can see that's just from frost. So it's been cold. We're trying to get the airflow up and as much as possible with it, of course, being closed off completely. So we added some extra fans, but airflow is not ideal. And we need to definitely open up as soon as possible. So whenever that black frost is over, as soon as that's over, we're going to have to open the sides up again, get some fresh air on these plants. They're lacking airflow right now, and I'm not getting the circulation of fresh air that I need. But otherwise, it's doing well. The plants are looking good. They're healthy, they're green, they're growing, and we've been keeping up with the nutrients. We've been keeping up with the pest management. We're doing all our sprays. Yeah, just a little bit of a tricky one with the no airflow. I'm dealing with a bit of a fungi. It's not powdery mildew, it's not botrytis. It's called Cercosporia. It comes from water droplets that falls directly on the leaves. It causes a little burn spot. There's a fungi that grows on that spot, and it actually just causes the plant to like really deteriorate quickly. So I'm using a copper soap to treat that. And again, the airflow is the issue, but as soon as the airflow is back and better, I open up the tops. I'm doing everything I can right now. So as soon as the airflow is better, that fungi will die off. But for now, we're just doing our best to keep everything as stable as possible and keeping it as green and healthy as possible. So yeah, that's it for now. Okay, guys, just to show you guys, this is actually what the black frost is doing to the older plants. So they are completely stunted as it is right now. As soon as the leaves drop, the plant is kind of dead. She's not going to produce much longer. I actually just need to throw them out. I'm very lucky this season where it's only these couple of plants at the back and the majority of the nursery is looking quite fine. But that's just to show you guys what it looks like. That's the black frost taking its toll. Cool. Okay guys, this is the last little shot video we're doing in the garden here with the flowering plants before that's going to come down. They've slowly come to their end and the harvest is looking good. We've definitely got the yield, much bigger yield than I was anticipating and expecting. So that's a plus. And the plants have pulled through and managed this black frost. I don't know, there's some nasturtiums and the catnip and a lot of other plants, the gooseberry bush over there, will tell you that the frost has been hitting hard. And you can definitely tell from just how these plants are looking that it's been cold. But the cannabis plants have definitely stood their test of time, and they've managed and held up against the cold. So we will see a successful harvest, which is great. I think, again, we can definitely give a round of applause for the mulch and just what a great job the mulch been doing. Silica too. I'll definitely say silica has been the make or break in this grow. Without the silica on these plants, they probably would have died. And yeah, you can't just do the mulch. The mulch is great, but you need to get your plants as strong and as vigorous as possible. So healthy, nutritious plants, full of nutrients. And then if you have silica, get yourself silica. And it would just, you can use it as a foliar application. You can drench the soil with your silica. If you have a powder or sand, you just top dress that and amend it to the soil. So that's really ideal for the cold temperatures. It's also really ideal for very windy conditions and also for very hot temperatures. So yeah, silica is definitely my big promotional nutrient here. I would definitely say get yourself silica, use silica on all your plants in your garden, especially when you're in these cold conditions. So yeah, it's really looking great. You can see some of the leaves have frilled up and have damaged, but that's okay. That's just a couple of fan leaves. The buds are looking stunning. They've got great color. The smell is just insane. It's overwhelming actually. And further on, yeah, I'm very excited to be chopping these plants in the next couple of days. Maybe give it a week and a half before I chop, say 10 days probably. But yeah, so we won't be doing another video in this garden with these plants. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for staying along for the journey. And until next time.
The black frost hit me ugly this season, bro. Yo, it hit me ugly.
Did you mulch?
No.
Did you not watch and learn
I've
anything?
lived in Joburg most of my life, and I know I should be doing particular things, but I didn't do them, and I paid the price.
That's it. You live and you learn.
Well, to be fair, you have also been like in other provinces and working as
A guide,
guys. That's it. Yeah.
a ranger.
Yeah.
Range.
I can confirm nothing can grow in their career. You're not going to grow Dagga in their career.
Just pussies.
But you just smoked something that came from the Caribbean.
You just smoked, in fact.
Whoever
You
did
just
that,
said,
is this the one? Is this that one?
That's straight out of the Caribbean.
So what was
whoever
the
did
growing
it,
method?
you got to be good.
Yeah, what made
Tunnels or
Indoor.
indoor? Okay.
That's why.
Okay.
That's what.
Indoor, you can grow
Yeah.
anywhere.
But there are tunnels, isn't that spot in the Karoo where there's a fucking river everybody's moaning about the weed industry?
No, but I'll be honest, cannabis is so adaptive. If you have water and you have sunlight, you can grow Dagga anywhere, even in the desert. You just need a sufficient amount of water. And if you can keep that water cold, you don't even need that much power. You just really need water. The sun will do the growing for you. You just have to make sure your plant stays wet. It can grow in a hydroponic setup just in pure sand. And you just have an irrigation system basically watering that plant 24/7. It never goes dry.
So when you say sand, you mean like desert
Actual
sand?
dry, like building
I
sand.
know you can,
no,
but
you
should
can.
you?
Look, if you have no other option, if
Like,
you're in the desert, if you're in the Karoo,
Maybe, but
and
maybe there's
you're
a
100 kilometers away from anything,
Fair point, Seth.
you
know,
need
you've
water,
gotta do
you
what
have
gotta do.
water.
But maybe there's a
They still
reason
grow.
a lot of these desolate places with extreme weather is really well known for their hash, right?
True.
When I was in Israel and Jordan, they were known for their hash. Afghanistan
But hash even more
Karoo hash.
Because a plant has to grow all the way through to the end, survive, be alive, all the way through to the end for months to turn that trichomes into mature.
Yeah, it's more. It's more.
But it doesn't have to be pretty tight bud. That goes
No. But the plant has to stay alive. And you just
Needs
said
water.
almost nothing grows in the Karoo, but that plant can grow in the Karoo. Just a bit of water.
It's true.
Okay. Well, clearly, yeah.
But I mean,
They did a great job.
Fucking great
Is it?
job.
Tell me, how does it feel?
That's really good.
Does it make you feel like you're in the Karoo?
what?
It does.
Yeah.
Is there a journey?
It makes me feel cold, really, really cold. Yeah, my legs started shaking the whole time because I was having flashbacks.
You can switch the lights off, you can see the stars, you're looking at
My whole life I wanted to see snow, and then I was living in it, and I really didn't enjoy it. But yeah, for those who have been living in the high fault, know the problems that comes with the black frost out here.
Look, there's been damage. There's
Yeah.
been lots of damage. Our nasturtiums are dead. Our catnip's pretty much dead. Our gooseberry bushes, even though they've been taking off like wildfire, they are all dead now. So the frost was definitely damaging.
Was it something you even had to think about in the past in the Western Cape?
Never.
Yeah.
No, the lowest the Western Cape goes is like 4 or 5 degrees. You know, it gets the rain, and your plants will die from just drowning in pure water.
But yeah, overnight.
No frost.
Overnight, black frost can kill.
But the buds were still looking pretty good, hey?
So that's because we did look after these plants nicely, and we tried our best to fight that frost. You see, so we mulched thick, sprayed silica that made the plant really vigorous, and they've been able to actually then not freeze up in the weather.
Nice.
There was that movie where they would take, they would burn fires in between the orchards and put on what looked like fairy wings, and they would walk up and down between the grapes to prevent the black frost. What movie?
They do it in New Zealand.
Yeah, and then literally everybody's whole community comes together, and they're like, black frost is coming. Everybody comes out of the house, puts on their little angel wings, and they just all walk up and down the side, just sucking in the warm air from the fires, just to prevent the black frost. Yeah, so we can do that in such a
Community.
I think the important part for me to just speak this out quickly is that if we don't start to enjoy the strains and the weed that people smoke with, the story of the growers' time and effort put into it. And those stories are all untold because you're not really is I think you might enjoy your next spliff way more because if you get into the storytelling part, you get to a point where you would be transformed into the Karoo, and you would acknowledge that this took however long it took, 3 months, I don't know what the cycle is, 3 months, and it took painstaking work, waking up in the middle of the night, going and put out fires, etc. And finally,
the disasters that
comes out and it has an experience to it, and it's that we have to honor.
You're perfectly right. Beacon Bites does it on the back of their packets. Every flavor has got its own story. It's just a story. It's a made-up story, but it gets the people going.
I would encourage the people making pre-rolls and growing all of these strains to start putting their stories onto the packaging if they can, so that we, the end user, can
educated, that it's
can
real
enjoy it.
people.
Enjoy it more.
Especially, I mean, we always talk about them, but our communities in Pondoland and Swaziland and really the rural areas, they should be putting the story behind
Because now they're just myths, and everyone's got their own version of the myth. It needs to be
Yeah, but that's just those people. Remember that there's an independent grower living in some small town in the Karoo, for example, that has his own vibe, etc. I think every craft grower, whether informal or formal, needs to be able to put their story out there, because that's going to create the history of the future, and it's going to give that strain the legacy that the Durban Poison's got now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think up until this point, the storytelling thing was just people were scared. You don't want to put your name out there. You don't want to tell your story that might get you arrested.
Yeah.
You know, we all
Because
we
of
all
stigma.
There was
and prohibition.
no more
was there.
pseudonyms, no more anonymous letters.
There was a strain from the Karoo that this guy had on his farm, and he was breeding this very specific strain for a long, long time. And Karoo is very well known for their sheep farmers. And one day the sheep came through and basically ate like 95% of his plants. So the genetic was almost gone. But he managed to actually keep it and clone it quite
Happy
a bit.
sheep in the Karoo, eh?
But again, the story of the genetic.
Yeah, but if you also take
Karoo lamb costs
So
if you take the very historical significance of the Karoo, and then you are the grower in the Karoo, you need to use that word, because not only is it world renowned, right? Karoo weed is the next thing, and now everybody gets to enjoy their craft and they grow in a holistic global fashion by just adopting their strains into the community and the words that have the meaning for the rest of the world to understand it. I mean, if I had two options sitting here and I had one strain that just said that and another strain that said Karoo, which one are you going to pick up first? I relate to the Karoo more than I do that, so I'm going to pick up that one. And that's where it needs to become more landmarky.
Yes,
is the
yes.
right word.
Hooray for the day when the crew's more famous for its weed than its lamb.
That would be a good day.
Yeah.
I think on that note, guys, we might have to end because I think
Sure.
we've probably been running for quite a while by now. I know you guys have also got somewhere you need to be this
We
afternoon.
do.
So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much
Thanks,
for joining
Joe.
us.
Thanks,
I'm looking
everybody.
forward to
Yes.
being packed in a suitcase to go on a road trip at some stage. And then I would just like to say, don't forget to like one up for Jules.
Stay safe and
Always.
choose happy.
Yeah.
There we
Keep
go.
rolling.
Keep rolling.
Yes, my people.